This is a presentation on the Bahá'í House of Worship in Wilmette, Illinois by Gina Fazzini. The Bahá'í Faith. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. This is a quote by Baha'u'llah. This story begins with the Bab, meaning the gate in Persian, who was deemed a messenger of God. In 1844, the Bab prepared people to receive new teachings from God through which the whole world could unite to create justice and peace. The Bab paved the way for Baha'u'llah, the divine educator, for this age. Baha'u'llah's teaching of unity and spiritual renewal are the basis of the Baha'i faith. Who was the Bab? The Bab was born as Sayyid Ali Muhammad on October 20th, 1819 in Shiraz, Persia. As a young man, he attempted to work for his uncle. However, he closed up shop when his spirit felt called to take on a months-long religious pilgrimage. In 1843, he had a dream that God wanted him to bring a message to the people of the world, which is when he officially took the title of the Bab and set about laying the groundwork for the promised one who is yet to arrive. In 1844, the Bab traveled to Mecca, the holiest city in the Muslim world, to make a public announcement of this new faith. Many Persians were outraged by his announcement and called for brutal forms of torture against the Bab and his followers. On July 9, 1850, in Tabriz, Persia, the Bab was executed by 700 armed guards firing in unison. To the left, you see the shrine of the Bab in Haifa, Israel. It is the Bab's final resting place and a point of pilgrimage for the Baha'is. The path of guidance is one of love and compassion, the Bab advised them, not of force and coercion. Who was Baha'u'llah? Baha'u'llah was born into wealth in the year 1817 in Persia's capital, Tehran. His birth name was Mirza Hussein Ali. Baha'u'llah's father was a royal advisor. However, growing up around people in the royal court only deterred Baha'u'llah from pursuing that life due to the amount of envy, gossip, and corruption that he saw. At the age of 18, Baha'u'llah married a woman named Asi Khanum, and together they would often host the poor in their home. They were known throughout the village as the father of the poor and the mother of consolation. In 1844, Baha'u'llah received a letter from the Bab which inspired him to join the Bab's followers to spread the news of the coming promised one. In 1852, Baha'u'llah was imprisoned and thrown into the Black Pit, seen to the right, where he was chained to 5 of his fellow followers. While imprisoned, he had a vision that a maiden told him he was the promised one, foretold by the Bab, and destined to be the unifier of humankind. He was not executed for his claims, but rather exiled. Communities committed to his message of peace and unity grew in every place he was exiled. In 1892, Baha'u'llah died of natural causes in the prison city of Akka, along the northern coast of present-day Israel. 2 years later, the first American Baha'i community began to grow in Chicago, Illinois. The oneness of humanity. What is the oneness of humanity, you ask? The Baha'i faith centers around one main principle, that all of humanity is like a family, created as a single unit. Baha'u'llah included this principle into all of the spiritual concepts and social activities of the Baha'i faith. A few other spiritual components include: every human being was created in the spirit of God's utmost love. God gave each person a soul which has no gender, race, ethnicity, or social class. When it comes to the diversity of the human race, we can discern with the eye of oneness his glorious handiwork and see the beauty in one another. Divisions, hierarchies, and inequalities based on ethnicity, gender, or social class are entirely man-made. It is up to all of us to remold our relationships, conscious of our oneness. A few social components include: the world of humanity is a single unit, like a family, as previously mentioned. Attitudes of prejudice, superiority, and paternalism conflict with the idea of oneness. All forms of systemic exploitation like racism, sexism, and classism negatively impact oneness. Deeply understanding the oneness of humanity is the only hope for remedying the significant amount of problems within our world. Building a community in America. Since its birth, America has struggled with racial, religious, and social inequality and injustices. While significant progress has been made, America is still going through a tumultuous time. Baha'is are committed to reshaping society around the principle of oneness. They focus on love, inclusivity, and reciprocity. Baha'is hope to join forces with the countless good-hearted Americans working for the same goals. Building community in America. Community building process links personal growth with social transformation, rekindles the soul's connection to its creator, builds friendship and intimacy beyond barriers of race and class. It weakens prejudice, and it inspires neighbors to think about each other's needs and search for solutions to common problems. The Baha'is believe that true worship is service. Community building is an expression of our belief in humanity's oneness. The welfare of any segment of humanity is inextricably bound up with the welfare of the whole. Humanity's collective life suffers when any one group thinks of its own well-being in isolation from that of its neighbors. A quote by the Universal House of Justice. Experiences and service. What can I expect when I visit the Bahá'í House of Worship? The Baha'i faith teaches that every person can learn about and find their own religious and spiritual truth. When one visits the Baha'i House of Worship, they are able to learn more about the Baha'i faith's underlying, unifying teachings, including the oneness of humanity, the common threads among all major religions, and the connection between the human spirit and its creator. The auditorium holds daily devotions, holy day programs, weddings, and all other in-person gatherings. They are currently suspended due to the pandemic. There are rooms for study circles where people can come and learn more about the teachings of Baha'u'llah, the divine educator. Visitors can also take a few moments to pray outside in these stunning prayer gardens. What do Baha'i services look like? There is no clergy in the Baha'i faith, and no sermons or speeches are given in the auditorium. Excerpts from scripture are pre-selected by the House of Worship staff and read aloud by local community members. Take a look at some of the experiences and services. On the left-hand side, it shows how you can come to the Baha'i House of Worship and pray in the gardens. Take note at the beauty, peace, and serenity of these gardens. On the right-hand side, you can see a group attending a study circle where excerpts from scripture are read. And then lastly, in the bottom right corner, you can see some people sitting for daily devotions. Baha'is recognize the current state of America as one of tension and division, reminding us that racial prejudices are set deeply in our society. They are struggling to find common ground around a shared sense of values. As this division widens, bigotry and social, racial, religious prejudices are starting to rise to the surface. The roots of these divisions are deep within American culture, making it difficult to build positive relationships with those who have a different mindset. Baha'is urge everyone to work together in their neighborhoods to develop a spiritually based life and to practice positive, constructive conversations in order to work towards the goal of oneness. For more information, please check out the Baha'i House of Worship website and also the BahaiFaith.us website.